Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to Undead Talking. I'm here today to talk about issue 173 of The Walking Dead. Final Fight came out today, November 1st, 2017, and it follows up on a lot of strange storylines that are going on right now. The survivors are heading towards Ohio to meet up with this group that Stephanie was talking about on the radio. Dwight has this weird thing going on with Rick where he wants him either dead or feeling some major pain, which is never good. Last month there was a cliffhanger where Beta was standing behind Jesus, and it looked really bad for everyone involved. So who knows what was going to happen? Well, guess what? We know now because the Walking Dead comic was released. So let's start things out by talking. Let's work it out chronologically. So the issue started off right where it left off. Beta was standing over Jesus, who had his back to him, and he took a swipe at him and missed. Of course, Aaron was still asleep at this time. Beta and Jesus just kept fighting and fighting. Jesus got a shot at Beta but missed, hit his jacket. Just that it was an absolutely crazy fight. And when Aaron finally wakes up, he realizes that there's walkers all around him. Jesus is fighting with Beta, and you've got Aaron just doing the best he can to fight off the walkers. And the fight goes on for quite a while, actually, in this issue. And it finally turns out where Jesus is on the ground. He's got Beta on top of him, and it is Aaron who puts a shot right through the side of Beta's body, dropping him to the ground, and Jesus who fires and saves Aaron from a walker who's closing in on him. They kind of get together afterwards, share a big hug, check on Beta. They don't think he's alive. They take his mask off, and it's revealed to be a basketball player who had done a movie and some commercials. First thing that came to my mind was Shaquille O'Neal, but by looking at it a little closer, I'm kind of wondering if the character wasn't based on Blake Griffin in some ways. But that's just me, my mind going. I know that it's a fictional basketball player, probably to explain the size. But yeah, just as they were about to say the name of the basketball player, Beta jumped up and said that he doesn't have a name anymore. And they never actually got to say the name, which is kind of a little disappointing. But then again, does Beta really need a name, or can't he just be Beta? To me, he'll always be Frowny McTwo-Knives or Beta or whatever you want to call him. So, of course, now Beta is dead. So now with Alpha and Beta dead, there are still some members of the Whisperers out there. And right now they have no leadership. So that's kind of an odd situation. Then in the comics, the scene shifts to the hilltop. Maggie's looking at the map that Dante gave her. She's very upset that Negan is able to keep on living after everything that he's done to the survivors, including killing Glenn, which of course she still holds a major grudge about. And rightfully so. I mean, that's the love of her life, the father of her child, and all that kind of stuff. Dante asks if, he wants to leave her tent and give her some space. Maggie wants him to stay. They talk about how the hilltop is being rebuilt at a really fast pace and everything's going really well. So far it sounds like things are going pretty good at the hilltop, except for in one situation. And that is Lydia and Sophia. There's some strange tension growing there. Lydia and Carl were taking a break from working on the hilltop, and Sophia walked by with some shingles for the roofs, and she dropped them. Carl made a joke about her biting off more than she can chew, and they kind of did a little flirty exchange back and forth, and Lydia did not like that. Of course, Lydia came over from the Whisperers, and she has some major issues when it comes to confidence, and she's got a history of things going very poorly for her. So this could mess with her head a little bit more. And as much as I like Lydia, she can be a loose cannon at times. So I'm kind of worried about Sophia after that. Then the scene shifted to Ohio. They were working on getting over some rough terrain to head them towards Ohio. Magna is exhausted. She said she's not sure how much more she can take. Princess says she's having fun on the trip, probably because she hasn't seen people in so long. But Eugene tells them that they are pretty close to the meeting point, and that once they get there, they can rest. So that's the plan. Then we get a really strange scene, which I did not even think that this was going to happen in this comic, but it's always nice to see something new. A new group of characters were revealed at the Whisperer camp. Anytime that characters say their names, you got to kind of wonder, okay, are these people going to die, or are they something that could be kind of important? But there was a boy named Josh, his dad Mike, and it looked like Mike's daughter. I don't know. I hate to assume gender because in comics it's really tough. But it was another survivor, and I'm assuming it was one of Mike's children. Josh was telling his dad that he didn't want to wear the skin mask anymore. Mike said that if this works and they can survive this way, it might be worth it. And it got to the point where the other members of the Whispers at the camp were not willing to bring the people along that didn't want to wear the walker faces. And it got into a little bit of a confrontation, and that's when Jesus and Aaron arrived on the scene. Bullet went through one member of the Whisperer's head. Jesus showed up, just started kicking and stabbing everybody. They wiped out nearly everybody except for those three. And Mike was quick to let them know that Beta was still out there. He had left. He could be back anytime soon. And they told him that he was dead, so there were no worries there. And Jesus extended an offer to bring those people to their community. Aaron wanted to ask them a few more questions, but turns out that they are going to discuss them on the way. So it looks like we have 3 new survivors that are going to join that were members of the Whisperers, and whether or not they are trustworthy or helpful or anything like that is up for grabs. But it is nice to see a few more younger people show up, because right now it's Mikey and Lydia and Carl and Sophia, and those 3, the last 3, aren't even that old anymore. So good to see some younger people join the community. About time something like that happens. In Alexandria, there was a cool situation where Rick was on the grave of Andrea again. He's having a real hard time getting past her death, and understandably so. I mean, she's been his rock for so long, and for her to die, it just leaves him in shambles. Now he's left wondering what's left for him, but Laura was with Dwight, and she was with him to show Dwight that Rick just needs help, that he needs time to get over his wounds. He's hurting too, just like Dwight is after losing his woman. And, well, I say woman, but they weren't really that close. Still, Dwight showed absolutely no compassion, no mercy, and Laura was tired of it. She just absolutely told him off, swore at him, said, when you get over her, come back, and maybe there might be something here for you. Dwight needs to get his stuff together. I understand that he's hurting too after his loss, and that Sherry meant so much to him at another time, but that time has passed, and it's time for him to move on. And with Laura willing to help him, he's got to realize that letting her walk away from him would be a big mistake. Finally, the group arrived at the train yard where they were going to meet up with the people from Ohio and Stephanie. And at first it was really quiet. They were looking for a place to settle in for the night in some of the cars. They were going to look around and make sure that they had safety on all the sides. And it turns out that they were there waiting. And let's be honest, Eugene expected them to be there because it was day 2 of the 4 days that they said they would wait for them to show up. However, the first thing they did was told them to drop their weapons to the ground and raise their hands. I don't know if that's quite the move of a friendly group or not, but you can't blame people for being too careful these days. I'm interested to see who these people are, what they want, and what their intentions are with these new survivors that they are taking in, because let's be honest, they've got some of the best fighters right there. Michonne is great. Princess has shown to be very, very good fighter. Yumiko and Magna are fantastic in fights. So they've got some good fighters that they're holding there. And I just can't wait till next issue to find out a little bit more about who these people are and what it all means. So now that we're talking about next issue, since we've covered everything that happened in this one, there are some situations that need to be resolved more. Of course, my favorite, if you've been watching a lot of the videos that I've done and reading a lot of my articles, I love the relationship between Lydia and Carl, and I'm excited to see more of this jealousy go back and forth between the two. I'm not usually so into love triangles, but I do think that Lydia and Carl have something really good going on, and the past that Lydia sees between Sophia and Carl is just kind of driving a little wedge. But of course, the main question is going to be who those survivors are that have Eugene and Sadiq and Magna and all in that group with Michonne. We will definitely get to see more of that in the future. And as I said before, I do think that this group will be a little friendlier than we assume, but I do think that there are threats out there to them, and that's why they're playing it so safe. Other situations that are going on, Dwight needs to get his crap together. I understand that he's hurting so badly because of the death of Sherry, and he blames Rick for a lot of that, but he's gotta understand that life isn't going to be better without Rick Grimes, even though he did do something that made them very upset. And I am interested, too, to find out more about Mike, Josh, and the other survivor. They didn't give the other survivor a name. I'm not sure. Well, if they did in the comic, I missed it. But those three coming to join, I'm assuming they're going to come to the hilltop. That's what I'm hoping, anyway, so that they can interact with some of the other younger people. Especially, maybe have some extra babysitters for baby Herschel or something once they gain some trust in the community. I don't know, but always good when you have an issue where there's a major death like Beta, and then 3 new characters are introduced, and then it's left in a situation where you're wondering what's going to happen with a group of survivors that are held at gunpoint. To me, this was a fantastic issue. I loved nearly every minute of it. The initial fight between Beta and Jesus was one that may have gone on a little too long, but I understand them wanting to space it out, especially after making Beta to be the huge threat that they wanted him to be in the comics, and to have him just die quickly would have been horrible. So having him take Jesus to the limit and be about to take Jesus out, but needing the combined efforts of Jesus and Aaron to take him down was a fitting end to Beta. And this does appear to be the end of the Whisperers now. And that was a question that a lot of people had for a while, was with Beta escaping and a couple members of the Whisperers out there, how long would it be before we saw them again? And it turns out not very long. And this effort by these 2 men essentially eliminated the rest of the Whisperers, and now I would be surprised to see any more from them at all in the future. That's about all that I took from this book. I do want to say that having Maggie kind of be a little bit more warmer towards Dante is a good step. I do want to see those two together. I think a lot of people want to see those two together once Maggie is able to move on from Glenn, because Dante just he'll do anything for Maggie. He's shown that. He's said that. He is what she needs and she is what he needs, but it'll only work when she's ready. So hopefully we'll all have the patience to see that happen. As a whole, like I said, I really enjoyed this book. I'm going to give it... I'll go 9.2 because I loved it a lot. The criticisms that I have are so minor because maybe there were a couple cheesy moments, but those cheesy moments are because it's a comic book. It's not a perfect book, but it is damn good. So hopefully the story can keep moving along, and more episodes, more issues like this can come out and just absolutely blow me away. It seems like The Walking Dead continues to just gain this steam and move everything in directions that you don't quite expect. Because I was not expecting to say farewell to Beta in this issue. I wasn't expecting 3 new characters to come to the survivors, and I wasn't expecting the meetup to finally happen. I was expecting them to camp out or to end at Princess saying, guys, that panel. But they went a little bit further, and they gave away a lot that they could have held over in cliffhangers to leave fans with a bigger cliffhanger. And to me, that is a fantastic way to end the issue. So on that note, I do want to end this episode of Undead Talking. Let me know what you thought about this issue of The Walking Dead. Of course, number 173 in the series, Final Fight. It didn't look good for Jesus and Aaron, but I'm glad it all worked out in the end. We got 3 new survivors, we got the death of a big bad, and we got plenty of drama going on. So thanks again for joining me and hanging out talking about the comic book, and I hope that you all survive the zombie apocalypse.